Hey guys, thanks for watching. It's my pleasure and honour to introduce you to Erika Goldsmith. Erika is a dancer, cultural community development practitioner, and social change maker, and our guest facilitator for the upcoming Sacral Chakra workshop happening next Sunday, the 27th of June at Django Capoeira here in Brisbane as part of the Colour Theory Movement Meditation Workshop Series. In our conversation, Erika and I chat about the power of dance as a tool for communication that transcends language and can connect us to ourselves and each other. We also talk about the power of dance as a therapeutic and healing tool to transmute pain and experiences of trauma. And we also talk about her inclusive dance company, Bring a Plate Dance, who are challenging the paradigm of who can dance, how to dance, and where to dance. Thanks so much for watching, and this is our interview with Erika Goldsmith. Alrighty, so hey Erika, thank you so much. Thanks for doing this and taking the time.
No worries.
So excited to explore this work with you a little bit deeper and to participate in your workshop on the 27th. So let's just get straight into it. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and how dance has impacted your life?
Yeah. So, uh, I guess I've been dancing for a long time, um, so long, and so much so that it's completely embedded in my life, and it's kind of hard to summarize, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I've been dancing. I mean, I think we're all dancing from when we're born, but I've been dancing in a more formal context for 26 years now.
Incredible.
And yeah, like trained in a bunch of different styles, um, and then went on to do a bit of dance at uni, and then kind of left it for a while, and then came back. And I mean, I never really left it, but I sort of doubted, had a bit of a period where I was doubting, yeah, or didn't feel comfortable going to classes or in those formal contexts, I guess.
Mhm.
Stepped away for a bit and then came back. Um, and yeah, ended up working for some dance companies and then eventually starting my own dance company and now just doing bits and pieces, always woven in with, um, I guess, yeah, community work as well. Um, because that's where my passion is, not necessarily in the commercial or professional context.
Yeah, sure.
Um, and because I'm a community development practitioner as well. So yeah, and
Something
then
that I
I've done some dance therapy study as well. So yeah, just those bits and pieces.
Yeah, amazing. It's something that I really admire in the work that you do is how you really integrate dance or your passion for dance into your life and how you use it as a tool to impact people and communities as well. I think that's so empowering and so important in how we use our creativity and arts practice as a tool to empower people and impact people's lives. So I really admire and resonate with that aspect of your work as well. So what do you think it is about dance that really inspires you, that really lights your fire?
Um, wow. The big questions. I guess it's uh like I it's kind of become apparent to me that it's sort of my it's been, and I don't know where this came from or why. I mean, my family dance, they're all movers, but it's my way of communicating with the world. I don't, although I definitely enjoy verbal communication and speaking and writing. It's just never been I've always been more comfortable for the most part in my body. So it's my communication tool, which I guess is why I've used it to work with people. Um, but Yeah, I guess, and music is a huge part of that too. I often think about that. I feel like they're integral to each other. I don't know where
Mm,
I'd be. I don't know what dance would mean to me without music.
for
Um,
sure.
Even though sometimes it's cool to dance without or move without music, but it's so
Mm,
like I think that the fire and the explosion happens with the two together.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've often heard music being described as the soul of theatre. In the theatre
Mm.
work that I've done, is yeah, the soul is kind of the thing that the music, sorry, is kind of the thing that brings it all together.
Yeah, yeah. Or it's like the beginning. But yeah, um, I guess though, so then I guess the power of it as a tool for when I've worked with other people, I guess is similar if it's a new way of them communicating or a new yeah, a new way to communicate that they haven't accessed before, or maybe, they're like me and they're not as comfortable or communicating verbally. And I guess it transcends words as well, which is why it's so
Mhm.
powerful. It's a feeling, and it's a way to be with other people, as well at the same time, sharing together. So yeah, there's lots of things about it, but it feels like a really innately human, art form as well. So,
Mm, yeah, absolutely.
and a way of interacting with your environment as well, like bringing those two things together. So
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. So, how would you describe your movement language or your dance language?
Um, I couldn't describe it really, and as with most artists, I guess sometimes it's a sensitive topic. It changes a lot, and I go through phases of not, yeah, it's not what I want it to be, or I'm not, and yeah, so yeah, I don't think I could describe it. I've really hit a patch actually in the last few years where I feel like I'm recalibrating and I'm figuring out what it is. So probably
Hmm.
more than ever, I can't really describe it.
Yeah, I
But it's
get that. I resonate with that. It's when
yeah,
something that's so limitless in its potential for creative expression or forms of expression, it's so hard to define that or put it into a box or limit it with words. So I can
yeah,
totally understand that.
yeah, definitely. It's definitely, but it's cool seeing in my movement language or in my dance and my work, just seeing, the influences of other people or places or things or experiences, like they all have an imprint. And so as we
Absolutely.
are as humans, like a, you know result of our environment, you can really see that
For
for
sure.
sure.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of your influences?
So yeah, I mean, I had a really Western training in dance until I was like in my early 20s, and I ended up working for Dance Masala, the Bollywood Dance Company, with Andrea Lamb, and that was a huge influence. Like, I'd done ballet, so I had the lines, and when I worked, started to train as a Bollywood dancer, and which involves learning, um, some different Indian classical and folk styles, that kind of worked really well with the ballet. And I've always been able to articulate my fingers and hands really well, and my arms, so it was all, so yeah, that classical and folk Indian style and Bollywood style is in my body now.
Hmm.
And that's probably what I spent the most time training in, apart from the ballet and foundation. And then, and contemporary, always been a contemporary dancer at heart, I guess. And then, yeah, bits and pieces of Latin dancing through travel and Afro styles, and then more urban styles like hip hop, and again, yeah, dance hall and bits of crump, and just, yeah, a whole lot of bits and pieces. Really,
Multiplicity of influences.
yeah, really moved by, moved and super appreciative of the opportunities I've had to learn from people from around the world, particularly in these traditional, um, styles that that have really codified movement that goes back thousands of years, like
Mm.
yeah, ancient um, dance lineages. That's been really cool, and yeah,
That's
very
incredible.
yeah, stoked to work with those people. And now I dance at um, Y.C.V with Yacim Coronado Varanes, who's an incredible Cuban dancer, the best dancer I know, best movement artist I've ever worked with. So that's a pleasure. And yeah, and then now with my own company, Bring a Plate Dance. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. That kind of leads into the next question I was going to ask is like, are there any specific artists or creative mentors that you particularly admire or look up to, in addition to Yasim and
Um, I'm not really much of a, um, yeah, I don't really fangirl over people, over celebrities or people. I really have to meet people for them to become an influence on me for some reason.
sure, I get that.
Um, and so I think it's been, yeah, Drea and Yasim and those people, as well as some of my teachers in Cuba,
Yeah, brilliant.
um, where I've spent a bit of time. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, Bangara Bangara Dance Theatre were my favorite dance company growing up, and I still hold them highly as an inspirational source of inspiration. Um, and then, yeah, some of the other Indigenous dancers that I've worked with and met in
Hmm.
Australia. But
What have been some of the key moments in your life that have influenced your creative journey and career trajectory?
mm, um, probably taking a break from dance for a while, and like the process of reconnecting with it and realizing that I don't have didn't have to follow or kind of fit um, the elite Eurocentric um, kind of idea of professional dancer that we have in Australia, or we definitely had when I was younger. So coming back to dance and recreating it as my like how I wanted it to be, and then um, all of that travel using I think yeah lots of pivotal moments and highlights um, have just been yeah when I've traveled for dance, but also when I've used just dance when I've traveled, like connecting with people in all sorts of places with yeah through dance in ways I would
Absolutely.
never have been able to connect with them otherwise. All of those moments, and then yeah, I guess that I had two key projects that I was lucky enough to have the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade fund in Australia that were with women in Timor Leste, um, and then later some women in Bangladesh and Indonesia, and those were even though the focus wasn't just dance was part of it, and those were I guess those were key moments as well, but definitely like biggest highlight has been creating Bring a Plate, the dance company that I started with Zoe Mitchell 4 years ago, and now has grown to yeah be a space for all of these incredible movers and people.
Mm,
And that's yeah
I'd
that
love
was a
to hear more
highlight.
about that.
Yeah, that's an ongoing highlight.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about Bring a Plate Dance and what inspired it?
Yeah, at the time when Zoe and I started it, we met in a cafe, and I guess so we call ourselves an inclusive dance company. You know, I guess the goal would be to drop the word inclusive because that should just be part of arts
Mhm.
practice anyway, but we say it just to make it really clear that we're about inclusivity um, and adaptive arts practices. So creating spaces that can hold everyone. Uh, which to some people seems really utopian, but I've seen it. I've seen it happen in community. It's not unachievable.
Mhm.
Uh, and I always found it strange that we just love to separate people by, especially by age. We love to just separate everyone out into these categorized groups where so much of the beauty comes from like bringing people together. And if you can do that in a class, then that has flow-on effects into people's broader lives and communities. But I guess, yeah, Zoe and I started, and we also, yeah, we started running these outdoor dance classes, which we've done for 4 years now. And last year we became a company officially, so we're a non-for-profit, and we've now got a team of about 14 creative facilitators, and all of our classes run outside for all ages, experiences, and bodies. And we also perform a fair bit, particularly in public space. From the beginning, it was always about trying to challenge our little catchphrase, trying to challenge Australian society's perception of who can dance, where to dance, and how to dance, because we felt like there was a lot of cultural cringe here. And, I've been, obviously, anyone that's been to countries like in Latin America or places where dance feels like it's part of everyday sort of civic culture and engage, and we just don't, for the most part, in mainstream Australia, we don't have that. We don't dance. We have to drink a lot of alcohol before we will, and like that. So it was kind of to challenge all of that. And then later on, I realized that also I was totally creating a space that I hadn't found in the parts of the dance industry or dance sector that I hadn't, I was creating the space that I hadn't found for myself as much as I was creating it for other people.
Yeah, beautiful.
So, where you can really just show up as you are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Something that I really love about Bring a Plate as well is the accessibility of the dance form. So like not only the inclusivity of who is allowed, like everyone is allowed to be part of that experience, but it's also this like inclusivity with the dance form and style as well. That's like it's not so regimented or this formalized type of dance training, which can be pretty intimidating for some people. If you're a non-dancer, like me, for example, or someone that didn't grow up with formal dance training, it's like, it's amazing to see spaces and environments like that where you can move in a way that feels good for you and natural, and experience that joy of dance without having to be in this formal context of dance training. Yeah, something that I really love about it.
Yeah, we've worked really hard to create that. We always co-facilitate. That's been part of the model too, having two teachers and being able to model the kind of culture that we're trying to create, with collaboration and respectful communication and things like that. But yeah, always leaving as much flexibility and openness as possible too for people in the space to contribute. I think we've done well with that.
Yeah, it's great, the work that you're doing with Bring a Plate. So in our upcoming movement meditation masterclass, we're exploring and working with the energy of the sacral chakra. So what comes up for you when you connect in with that energy center?
Yeah, lots of things. I guess it's in relation to in relation to the dance forms that I've studied and worked in over the years. I think it's interesting. What comes up for me is that in Western dance training, the way that we access that area is quite different, and it never felt natural, or it didn't really ever really align with me. It wasn't until I kind of started to do more of the Latin and the Afro styles that I was like, wow, this is such a different way of relating to this part of the body, that resonates with me much more than tucking it away and sucking it in, and this other approach. So that's something that comes up for me. I I guess one thing is to be clear about, I for me, is that I haven't previously worked with chakras specifically, or that sort of language around it either.
Hmm.
Not been my practice, but ways throughout in my work, I think, and that um, especially some of the work around the in dance therapy and the vagus nerve, and the way that that connects to that area, like that's been yeah, uh, area of interest for me. Um, yeah,
Yeah, awesome.
yeah,
Thank you for
yeah.
sharing. So, for me, the energy of the sacral chakra, it really relates to our creative energy and
Mm,
that creative life force. And it's the place of our womb and our reproductive organs. And so it's intimately connected with our sexual energy and our creative cycles and rhythms. It governs our emotions, sensitivity, sexuality, intimacy, emotional well being, self expression, and that experience of joy and abundance that we can get through things like creative self expression and dance and movement. And something that I really admire in your work, and something I've always respected and see in how you express yourself and your work and your dance, and really how you show up in the world, is this unapologetic expression of that wild and raw self confidence. And this aspect of your sexuality and the obvious joy and pleasure that you get from dance and movement. So, where do you feel that that comes from?
Hmm. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it definitely. Well, it probably can't, especially as I said, once I started to dabble in those other dance styles, definitely probably comes from connecting with that, with the sacral chakra, and that, like, that part of the body, that energy center, um, which makes sense if, yeah, given that that's the way that it's thought of and talked about.
And
Yeah.
how do you feel like you've been able to cultivate this sense of self confidence in your body?
Mm, I don't know. And I've been thinking about that a lot, because when I mentioned before that the last few years there's been like a bit of a shift, because I which is maybe not helpful for coaching other people to access that, but for me, I'm still figuring that out, where that came from. I it felt like, and it felt like it was an endless fountain of that energy, and I think that's shifted in the last few years for me, and I'm wondering, so I'm learning myself at the moment how to turn that tap back on, because it kind of um yeah, yeah, it slowed down a bit, which was interesting. Um, but I think, I mean, I've spent a lot of time connecting with my body, so that's part of it. Um, yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
awesome.
know.
I really honor and acknowledge the authenticity there in not necessarily feeling like you have to have all of the answers or the solutions, or even the honesty in saying that it's not always your experience that
No,
way, you know? There's a
no,
humility in that, in
yeah,
recognizing that it's not always, I don't know, we don't always feel at this like extreme peak or height of um, pure joy. You know, we go through these emotional roller coasters in our
right,
lives.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's something really humble in that.
I think as a survivor of sexual assault, that working through that process probably definitely um, in enhanced, ref, yeah, enhance the way that I had to be I had to become confident with that part of my own sexuality, and with that, because it had kind of been used as something used against me in a way,
Mhm.
um, in some of these experiences of mine that weren't so great. So
Mhm.
the only way to kind of had to take ownership and control of my body and my sensuality back. Um, and I'm sure that that has had an effect on,
For
yeah,
sure. Even just the ability to share that aspect of your story, um, yeah, is really powerful for
yeah.
other women and people in general to hear that that story exists, and that you're able to overcome that in some way through your movement practice and through your connection with your sensuality and your body. It's really powerful to share that story. So thank you so much. And it leads me to the next question is, often the sacral chakra can become stuck and feel stagnant or blocked because we hold a lot of our pent up emotions in this area of our body. And often because of things like painful experiences and trauma,
Mm,
which can really leave us feeling disconnected with our bodies and our sensuality and our creative energy. And so, as someone with a background in social work and training in dance therapy, are there any tools or techniques or rituals or processes that you've used in your own personal journey to help you release pain and trauma in a healthy way, and really allowed you to reconnect with your body, your creativity, and your sensuality and joy?
mm. Yeah, I think aside from the obvious one of um, dance, and again, in particular, some of these particular styles like Latin dance styles and Afro styles that are grounded and also connect with that area. Um, I think a super simple technique that I've used in dance therapy and in different community dance contexts and in non arts contexts as well, is accessing. So like a key idea in dance therapy is that the more you can increase your movement vocabulary, the more integrated you are as you can become as a human being,
Mhm.
basically. Um, so and a lot of dance therapy, a lot of dance therapy is observing people's movement, and kind of noticing where those gaps are, or what kinds of movement they might not be accessing. And um, so playing around, and again, super basic stuff, but obvious, but we don't always do it. Playing around with different opposites. So, you know, if you, as again very rudimentary example, if you don't access um, heavy or like weighted or strong movement very often, and you're always sitting in a lighter space, or not, yeah, then kind of playing around with opposites and accessing the opposites to what you think your, well, first just figuring out what you think your movement preferences are, and then trying to access the opposites to that, basically, um,
That's
is
super
a
interesting.
great tool for all sorts of stuff. But yeah, yeah.
That's really interesting because one of the key themes or topics that we'll be exploring in the workshop is this idea of the sacred union of opposites, or this
Mm,
idea of yin or yang, or exploring the masculine and the feminine. And it's interesting because um, our society really values a lot of this yang energy, this kind of like ambitious, outwardly motivated, outwardly oriented, materialistic, sort of hyper driven type of energy. And often we lose sight of this yin energy, which is the non doing, the kind of listening and the reflective time of, yeah, going inward to listen, and that deep feminine portal of kind of surrender and acceptance of not knowing, or not always having all of the answers. So I just found that really interesting that you bring up that idea of opposites, because it's we'll be exploring some of that work in the workshop, and
So cool.
something that comes up for me in that portal of the sacral chakra is because it's these cycles of life, and connecting in with those cycles, like we go through this like wheel of time that's like we have this yang energy when the sun is high in the sky, and then we as the moon comes out, we're like in this eternal dance between the opposites. And so exploring how it manifests for you in your body can be super powerful in understanding where there may be these gaps, or aspects of ourselves that can be unlocked.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Or, patterns, behavioral patterns, movement patterns.
Absolutely. And being able to decode those habitual patterns that we sit into. Yeah, awesome. So does your creative energy and output manifest in other ways or other modalities in addition to dance? I know you sort of mentioned a few just before.
I guess there's a lot more theatre in my dance in the last few years, I guess, than there ever has been. I don't think of myself as a theatre person, but it's definitely it's pretty expressive, and storytelling, and elements of theatre, but also and music. I don't know, I like to make stuff with my hands. I worked with my dad as an assistant carpenter for most of last year, and I'm pretty skilled seamstress, so I like to sew and put things together. But I think, which maybe is a theme with all of it, is like putting pieces together.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, well, you're an incredible seamstress. I've seen some of the things you've created. They're amazing. It's nice to be able to have this multiplicity of forms of expression as well. I definitely identify as someone who is a polymath, someone with multiple interests. And I love that creativity doesn't always have to be artistic, or it doesn't always have to be the traditional arts. That it could be something like carpentry, or it could be something like speaking, or connecting with people in different unique ways. There's kind of creativity in all aspects of what we do, in a way.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's I think, problem solving, creative thinking. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
As a creative leader, entrepreneur, social worker, dance therapist in training, and facilitator, what do you feel is our role and responsibility as creatives and leaders and role models in midwifing and birthing, and shaping our way forward into this new phase and creative cycle of transformation and healing, both individually and as a collective?
Um, I don't know. I don't know when I think about although you did say individually, like responsibility is a big word. I Yeah, I think that always something that came up that was really great. And not that I feel like this has always been part of my work, but I went to a dance conference just before we really went into the throes of COVID. I was in Bangladesh for a dance conference, and which was super special and awesome. And something that stood out for me there was one of the women whose name I actually can't remember right now, which is a shame. I'll look it up. But she was talking about dance, because a lot of dance academics there, and about it being transformational and about checking in with that. And because I don't know, sometimes get lost in our artistic pursuits, and for me anyway, I swing between being like, what I mean, and I'm sure we all do, like, what's the point? Does this matter? Why does this matter? Does it just matter to me? Like, does it matter to other people? And does it matter that it matters to anyone? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Especially when in a capitalist system as well, these questions are tricky. But yeah, she spoke about it being checking in about if is it transformational, um, what you're doing, and that kind of was something that stuck. And I started trying to ask myself that question with everything that I did. Like, well, like, yeah, does this have the capacity to be transformational? Um, Otherwise, and if it's not, maybe don't do it. um, Although I guess you don't always know until
Yeah, for sure. That's true.
afterwards. But yeah, just really question. I think our responsibility is to really question what we're doing, and why, and who's it for. Not that I don't think that arts for art's sake is important. And again, like I said, don't always know what the transformational value is until afterwards. But there's so much work to be done in the world. So um, yeah, got to make it count, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, time and energy is precious, and other people's time and energy is precious too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All well and good if you want to roll around on the floor in your bedroom, but when you're asking for other people's time, I think, yeah, that's something that I've thought about a lot,
Hmm.
is valuing that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting that you end on this idea of valuing that, and something that I come up a lot with the clients that I work with, these creative people, is this sort of sometimes this really deep sense of a lack of self-worth, or a lack of the valuing of the creative work that they do. And something that I endeavor to empower creatives with in all of the work that I do is to empower them with this sense of self-worth, in valuing and honoring the work that they're doing, and the time commitment. And again, just like you said, if you're asking for someone else's time, that's valuable too. And there's a value exchange going on there,
Yeah.
when you're communicating and interacting with someone through these transformational processes. And really just, yeah, valuing that type of work and that process is so important for creatives, not only for ourselves, but for the broader community. Is like, how can we really step into this story, or this collective story, that creative transformational processes are valuable,
Yeah.
in our society. So it's one of the amazing things about the work that you're doing, is every time I've seen you, it's transformed me a little bit. So I just want to thank you so much for the work that you're doing out there in the world in all the different ways. Um, can you tell us a little bit about, is there anything juicy that you could tell us that you've got planned for the 27th? Or let's keep it a secret.
mm, I guess, I mean, I hope it will be transformational. I Yeah, I would just nothing juicy really, except I think people, yeah, just recommend that people come without any expectations.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Love that. Another great metaphor for life.
Yeah.
If people want to find you and follow your work, where could we find you?
Um, I guess these days probably on Instagram, either as me, Erika J Goldsmith, or Bring a Plate. It's usually where I am. Also, new dance project with Y.C.V called Nudo. That's something to look up.
Yeah, awesome. I can drop all the links in
Yeah,
the notes as well.
cool.
So yeah, we've got the SACRAL CHAKRA session happening on Sunday, the 27th of June at Django Capoeira, and we're so excited and honoured to be exploring this work with you. And yeah, thank you so much for your time today and always the beautiful transformational work that you're doing in the world.
You're welcome. Thank you. Exciting to be part of it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you so much to Erika for taking the time to talk to me today. I'm so excited and looking forward to exploring this work deeper with you during our Sacral Chakra workshop. If anyone is interested in the Colour Theory project and participating in this exploration and diving deeper into this work, you can contact me at www.vibrantartsmedia.com, where you can also purchase your tickets to the Sacral Chakra workshop. And if anyone is interested in following Erika's work, you can find her on Instagram at Erika J Goldsmith and Bring a Plate Dance. Thank you so much for watching and looking forward to the next one. Bye.